Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video review. And for this review, I'm going to be taking a look at Astro Bot, a new 3D platform for the PS5 from developer team Asobi and published by Sony. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage, I'll link down the description down below, or you can click on the card that will appear up on this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And of course, for parents out there, it's worth pointing out that Astro Bot is rated E10 for ages 10 and up by the ESRB rating system, though. During the PS1 and PS2 era, Sony did several different types of 3D platformers back then, though. Most of them might remember games like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, which are now owned by Activision Blizzard, which now is owned by Microsoft and all. But we saw them do some 3D platformers, and they had some of their own, like Abe Escape, for example, had several entries, including one on the PlayStation and then onto the two of them on the PS2. The Jak and Daxter series, Ratchet and Clank, which is still going on even after all these years, and of course the Sly Cooper series and everything like that. But nowadays, though, we've seen Sony seem to be focusing more on, that narrative-driven, AAA type of experience, which some might debate whether Sony should just focus heavily on that or not, though, and everything like that. And sort of their platforming games have kind of, well, outside of maybe some like Sackboy Adventure and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, they kind of sort of gone a little bit to the wayside to a certain degree. So it was kind of interesting to see that Astro Bot, a game that was basically almost its own game, considering that the Astro Bot Playroom was more like an introduction of how the DualSense control and everything like that, since it's built into every PlayStation system. I do remember one on the PS4 and of course on the PS5 was sort of getting its own game, and I was very curious to see how this one was going to do, especially since it came out around the time that Concord flopped really, really hard and everything. And after spending some time with Astro Bot, I would say it is definitely a fun and enjoyable 3D platform, and I certainly hope this opens the door to the idea of Sony maybe doing more 3D platform games out there, along with their narrative-driven AAA type experience type of games as well. So we're going to break it down into the pros and cons, and we'll start off with the pros. And I do want to say with the pros, though, the game is surprisingly fun, and I do like the platforming in the game. The platforming kind of reminds me somewhat of, like the Crash Bandicoot and the Spyro, kind of like, not, to some degree, parts of it does feel like that, where it's 3D, but not fully 3D or anything like that, and there are some elements at the same time where it's something that would be taking a page out of Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank to a certain degree, and I do like that, though. I do like the idea of Astro Bot visiting, these different kinds of planets and everything like that. It does give off a little bit of a Mario Galaxy vibe to it to a certain degree and all, and it is somewhat of a collectathon. You do basically have to find some of the other bots, pieces of puzzles and everything, and hidden little secrets here and there. So it is a fun 3D platform and everything like that, and it certainly is enjoyable. I mean, he has different abilities like to attack, and then sort of a hover with beams shooting down his legs, basically that can defeat certain enemies. And each level also has a unique power-up ability. Like, for example, one level has the ability where you basically have a monkey on your back and you use the L2 and R2 button to sort of climb to a certain degree. Other times you might have different kind of abilities to punch, to even shrink, and so forth. So each planet almost has a different kind of ability, and I kind of like that approach that they did with Astro Bot, though. I also do want to say, though, and then this is the next part, is that the visuals and the music look really good. I like the art style that Team Asobi tried to aim for with Astro Bot. I think they did a really good job with the art style, and I think the music is also done very well in the game too, though. And it definitely shows how sometimes, video games can be somewhat of an art form to a certain degree, and I think Team Asobi did a really good job with that with Astro Bot, especially with some of the levels here and there. So it's certainly, I think visually and music, though, is really good. And last but not least, I love the idea how some of the other astrobots you rescued are are based off of some of games in the past that have been released in the PlayStation. Like you might see some Jak and Daxter or Abe Escape ones, which is certainly fine. But you also see some third-party ones as well. Like you might see one based off, of Dante from Devil May Cry, Solid Snake from the Metal Gear Solid series, and so forth. Even some observed ones like Pepper the Rapper and all. So it's certainly nice to see some of the bots sort of like, not all of them, but some of them look exactly like basically past games that have been released in the PlayStation. In general, I like the idea how it does kind of pay homage to the history of the PlayStation brand in general. And I certainly don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, right down from the bots to even the space shuttle, which looks like a PS5, to even some of the stuff, some of the hardware from, PlayStation's history and all. So I really like some of the stuff they did. It is a nod towards, the PlayStation brand, since it is sort of the 30th anniversary since the release of the original PlayStation back in 1994, at least in the US and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, which is the cons. So we'll take a little break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my video review of Astro Bot for the PS5. So now that I gave you the pros, okay, and why do I give you the cons? Is there really only one con, and this has to do with some of the platforming in the game. Now, as I mentioned before, I thought the platforming was fun in the game and all, and it is, and I still tend to enjoy the platforming in Astro Bot though. However, I will say that while I do enjoy the platforming, I will say it can get a little tricky here and there. And there are times when there are some jumps that might be difficult at times until you sort of understand how some of the mechanics works and all in some of the levels. I won't say it makes the game unplayable or anything like that. It really doesn't. It's just that there are some tricky jumps here and there though, and there were some that took me a couple of tries before eventually I was able to get over some of these jumps. One in particular had to do based off one of the buttons on the PlayStation controller. I think it was the triangle button and all that. Took me a couple of tries here and there before I eventually was able to pass that level. So there are definitely some tricky platforming in the game. Again, doesn't make it impossible to play or anything like that. It's just be aware there may be some tough platforming here and there though. So in other words, it's good, but I wouldn't say it's good and solid, but not on the same scale as like the 3D Mario games in general. Overall, I would say I definitely am enjoying Astro Bot, though. I do think it's nice to see Sony put out a new 3D platform for the system, especially for the PS5 and all. And it's certainly interesting to see one of their mascots get its own 3D platform and all. At its best, though, I do think the platforming is fun, though. I do like the fact the game does have somewhat of a Mario Galaxy vibe to it. I think the visuals and the music are good for this game. I do think the visuals do show how sometimes video games can be an art form to a certain degree. And I do like some of the ideas of some of the bots you rescue be based off some of the characters that have appeared in past games, especially that have been on the PlayStation system before. But that is worth some time. As much as I do think the platforming in this game is good, I do think there are times when it can get a little tricky and difficult here and there. As I said, I don't think it makes it unplayable. It's just something to point out and everything like that. But in either case, I definitely am enjoying Astro Bot. I can't see how this one game kind of won Game of the Year at the Video Game Awards this year, though. And I'm hoping to see that this game does well. Not only would I be open to the idea of a sequel if they ever do one, but I do hope that it opens the door to the possibility for Sony to really take a look and maybe not focus on trying to do a live service game or make every game a narrative-driven AAA type of experience. Not that you can't do those games. I would like to see them do more platforming on the PS5, maybe another Ratchet and Clank, or maybe bring back Jak and Daxter or Sly Cooper, or even Ape Escape for that matter. Bring some of those series back, or put out a brand new IP for platforming and all. I think those kind of games can work on a system, and there's nothing wrong, diversifying the PS5's portfolio here and there. So hopefully the game does well enough to send a message to Sony to consider maybe doing more platforming on the PS5. But in either case though, I do enjoy Astro Bot. As someone who grew up playing platforming games though, yes, I don't think it's going to overtake Mario, but I still enjoy it nevertheless. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it as much as I am as well. I do think it is a fun game indeed. Okay, this concludes my video review of Astro Bot for the PS5. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Astro Bot? Do you think it's a fun and enjoyable 3D platforming and everything like that? Do you think the game is good? Were there certain characters or areas you would like to see if they do a sequel in any way? Do you think Sony should bring back some other classic 3D platformers, like bring back, like Ape Escape or Sly Cooper or Jak and Daxter, or do another Ratchet and Clank in any way? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel. You could do it through PayPal Me or Patreon or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, so you'll be watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!